There's great power in prayer, even more in group prayer. This is the foundation of the Unity movement and our church. Our prayer ministry has close to over 100 active participants supporting our community and the world. There's great synergy in us coming together consistently. Beyond our own personal experience with prayer, there's so much evidence to its impact on the collective consciousness. The Maharishi effect shows that if 1% of the population meditates, it produces measurable improvements in the quality of life for the whole population. The world is going through a lot of change. We must go to the unchanging realm of the divine and help co-create the best outcome for the most impactful event taking place. Let's join together to support this cause. Thank you for joining us. Your presence, your consciousness is summoned for humanity at this time.
Good morning, Unity.
Good morning.
If you're watching us online here through our live stream, we're so glad you're with us. If you're here for the first time, we're so glad you're with us. If you're a long-time member and have been coming every Sunday for years and years, we're glad you're with us. We're glad everybody's here. And as Kermit the Frog used to say, it's not easy being green, but look at me here. So, we don't care what color, what stripe, what shade, what flavor you are welcome here. And we're going to be singing about that on this Sunday of radical inclusivity. And we're so glad to have our choir with us, decked out in all the colors of the rainbow. And we're going to get a little head start on the 4th of July here with a little mashup featuring the music of Bob Dylan.
How you are joyful or you're concerned, come share your story. The chalice flame burns. If your heart is broken or if you're disowned, come join our circle and please turn off your phone. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you came to be in this community, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. If you are running, you've got the right to seek sanctuary, guided by the light. If you hear that calling, come join the fight. Marching for justice, candles lit in the night. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whoever you came to be in this community, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. And so as you are welcome here, we also welcome into this beautiful place the Spirit of the Lord. Please remain standing and join us. Welcome into this place. Welcome into this open vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift our hearts as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into this open vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift our hearts as we offer up this praise unto your name. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
This love has no limits, no exceptions, and no judgments. We are all children of God, loved as one heart and one spirit. May every heart, every name in this prayer box, and all of humanity embrace the power of this unconditional love to acknowledge and accept our differences. Even though we may look or act differently, at our core essence, we are one. Honoring and celebrating all of mankind and all of creation allows our innate compassion and empathy to be more fully revealed and more fully realized. May every individual feel love and acceptance. May every individual bestow love and acceptance. May every individual accept love and acceptance. Each individual travels a unique journey in life. So we bless every journey and every expression of the divine purpose. Releasing all shoulds and shouldn'ts, we go forth honoring our true nature and the true nature of others with non-resistance and love. And so we allow it. Amen.
I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, true colors, beautiful like a rainbow.
As we prepare to meditate, let us settle in. Let the chair support us. Let this moment be the present moment, the moment we're right here with no place to go, nothing to do. Deeper into the quiet. Let us let the breath be deeper and fuller. Feel the body relax. As we're moving into the depth of our own being, slipping away from paying attention to the rapid thought and letting the deeper sense of self become known. see if we can open our hearts at the same time in loving acceptance of ourselves and all that is. Let us practice loving ourselves for a few moments. If there's something you need to forgive of yourself, let's do that now. If there's something you have judged and found yourself unworthy, let us reverse that now. Practice self-acceptance. And if we are already in the good place, let us open more fully to the idea of loving oneself is holy work. Love your strengths. Love your challenges. Love yourself when you're foolish and when you're the star. Love yourself when you're afraid. Love yourself when you have frightened someone else. Imagine that you are just lovable all the time, every day. Together in this holy space, practicing loving ourselves as we are, as we were, as we will be. Let us love ourselves.
us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive. To go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me, free like me. Lord, we are your love. Lord, we are your peace. Lord, we are your joy. This day, this
As many of you know, I'm planning on taking a long, extended vacation. Not till after next week. After next week, I'll be gone for about 2 months, and we have a great array of speakers who are coming here. I think you will be very impressed with them. And one thing you should know, that every speaker who comes on a circuit like this, when they come, they bring their best. And so, unlike what you have to put up with me on occasion, it's just like you'll only be getting their best. So we'll have 8 weeks of wonderful speakers, 3 different workshops. It should be pretty fun. Diverse group of people. And diversity is kind of one of the topics of today anyway. We are talking about radical inclusivity of, now, to start preparing for this, I went to a biblical source, which you know that's pretty rare for me, but I started right off with that, and because I remember that in the Old Testament, one of the things that was very drilled into me in seminary was that essentially hospitality was something that the Jews were taught to do to people who were strangers, in particular sojourners or foreigners. And it happens that Abraham, the father of the 3 Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, that all those base their idea of God, etc., starts with Abraham. And Abraham wasn't always really a nice guy. He kind of grew into it. But one of the things he did that was nice was he saw 3 strangers coming, and he went out to meet them, and he bowed before them, and he said, maybe I could offer you a little water for your feet. And they said, yeah, that'd be nice. And so he offered them a little bread and stuff. And once they were sitting around and talking, he went out and killed a calf or a goat or something and made a big feast for them. As they were leaving, they said to Sarah, his wife, who had never had children and was quite old at the time, I believe around 90-something, according to the story, said, you will have a child, of which she laughed, but she did. And so this radical hospitality began the descent of all the tribes of Israel and the nation, all the Islamic nations as well, the Arabic nations. It's an amazing thing that this is a foundational event, one of the foundational events of all these religions that we know so well. As you come into the New Testament, Jesus is taking his disciples and teaching them, and then he has this crew of about 70, and he sends them out to go and preach the good news to people. And he says, don't take anything with you. Don't take a bag. Don't take anything. Just expect hospitality. And he puts them in a vulnerable state as they go into towns to preach the good news. He asks them to be that foreigner and to receive. And if they don't receive, then they should leave. But otherwise, they should just stay in one house and experience hospitality. This mutual sense of vulnerability, of giving and receiving, is foundational to the human tribe. And one of the things we have talked about progressively more and more in the last 20, 30 years has been this idea of inclusiveness. And yet, I was reading an article earlier about a woman saying, you know, white people will never get inclusiveness unless they realize that they are also part of the group. Instead of this massive group of dominant societal people, including other people, it is they too who are being included. They are part of this whole experience of being in the United States, or being human, or being in a business, or whatever form of inclusion that takes. And so there's a certain sense of humility that each of us needs when we're actually talking about accepting another. That we can accept another from a superior point of view, taking that which we like and tolerating that which we don't like. Or we can come to a deeper understanding that essentially we are part of the same tribe they are. That in essence, this sense of alienation or being a foreigner is a temporary event when you're in an unusual place. But it's also our personal experience as well. And if we can incorporate this sense of vulnerability into this understanding of accepting others, I think we then come at it with the proper mindset. In which when we see someone who has differences of any type, whether they be political or racial or nation of origin or ability or whatever, when we see them having differences, we also should allow that to remind us of our own differences, of how we're perhaps uniquely challenged in our own way, how not everything is working for us, and how indeed we are the same as they. Not different so much as the same. That humans are all varied, and there are many colors and shades, etc., of our personality, of our skin tone, of our ability, but on the fundamental level, on the bones and muscle level, on the desires and needs level, on the level of hopes and dreams, we're the same. We want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. We want our loved ones to be safe. We want to have a sense of accomplishment and achievement. We want to fulfill the potential that we have. We're the same. And so inclusion is merely recognizing the commonality rather than focusing on the difference, which is not to be minimized. We have difference. And those differences make us each potentially great in a way that the not having those differences will inhibit. So in the differences, there are advantages, and those should be celebrated as well. But essentially, this job of inclusion is one of the heart, in which we diminish our sense of separateness and find that our heart is connected to their being as well. That our heart and their existence are joined in some way. And while the mind may be very good at finding distinctions that separate, the heart has less trouble finding a way to connect. And so much of what building a radical world of inclusiveness is staying in the heart, realizing our own vulnerability. And don't you think most of the reason we get out of our heart anyway is that we're not comfortable with being vulnerable? So we move up to our little safe place. So if we can stay in the heart, we can recognize the suffering of others, but also their beauty, their commonality, and our oneness by staying in the heart. Now, to do that, I think we should look to another form of practice. One of the common phrases I hear in spiritual conversations these days is spiritual bypassing. As many people heard that phrase, spiritual bypassing, mean that when we see something less than ideal, we jump over that and go, I just love God. I'm always, I just love everybody. Nobody ever upsets me. Well, that's bypassing. That's avoiding the experience. And in so doing, it keeps us from recognizing what's really happening inside ourselves. If we cannot tolerate discomfort, then we can't really grow much. We can bless the world. We can be like a light worker, but that will be also a LITE worker. So let's work on this. And here's how you do it. Carl Jung, a famous psychologist from Switzerland, basically said, we all have a shadow. And the shadow comes about for each and every person more or less the same way. There are parts of us that we do not find acceptable in public company, and so we dissociate from it, and we repress it, and we send it over there long enough that we deny we have it. That's your shadow. Now, if you think about a child who's basically is right-brained and emotional and playful and fun and dangerous and loud, etc., this is the beginning of where the you begin to lose this childlike quality as you try to fit in. And when you try to fit in, you begin to deny that. So it's not necessarily all bad. It's just not currently acceptable as a 7-year-old. And once your rational side begins to take over, around age 7, then it's easier to make a story about who you are. And in making that story about who you are, you begin to forget who you also are. And so shadow work, or reclaiming part of your personality, your potential, is about looking over here. It doesn't mean you're bad because you have that, because everybody else does too. It may not be the same, but inside, as Carl Jung, the psychologist, would say, 90% is gold. For fear of that 10%, we often don't look at all. Now, if you want to be able to stay open to the world as it is, and means that you have to stay open to you as you are as well. To be able to love yourself as a total being, not simply the light worker, but also the shadow side. And an easy way to do that is to catch yourself judging someone else. Not that anybody here would do that. And I can't remember the last time I did, but as you judge them, it's like holding up a mirror to this invisible part of yourself. As you become, let's say you become irrationally angry, or even irrationally attached to and fall in love with. You're angry at something that you have not resolved inside yourself. And you're falling in love with something that you think is not in you, and you need them to make it so for your life. So whenever you find an emotion going out toward another in a very strong way, in a surprisingly strong way, we'll say, then there's a very good chance what you're dealing with is unconscious material inside of you. And this is the easiest way to see it, because it is a reflection. They are the same. So as you greet your judgment of another with a sense of humility, you go, I wonder what this is saying about me. I wonder what part of me is so like that I have denied that I feel I need to judge. Or on the other hand, if I see someone who is absolutely captures my imagination, who goes like, I must be with this person, or my God, they are great. Aren't they heroic in some way? Perhaps inside of you is the exact same hero, or beauty, or wondrous mind that you have denied. And so coming to know your shadow side, practicing this art, will give you a greater sense of confidence when you're among people. You'll be far less likely to strike out or to say something you would embarrass yourself. You'll have a greater sense of self-acceptance and love. You'll find that you recognize you are more creative because you're now using more of yourself. There are many benefits for this process. And there's a lot of cost when you don't do it. Separation from others. And indeed even separation from yourself. When the heart cannot love all of you because the mind is telling you there's something wrong with you, we are wasting much of the beauty that we are. Keeping ourselves from being in a full experience of life because we can only bring that part of us that we were taught as a child was acceptable, and not all of you. So how many of you as a kid were told to be quiet? How many of you were told to sit still when really you were filled with energy? And how many of you did a creation, let's say a painting, and someone said, that? All of those things sink in, and we begin to slice off and wall off so that we don't have to experience that again. But as we enter that world, we begin to open up a space for ourselves. But oddly enough, I think, we also open up space for the rest of the world. And if we wish to be radically inclusive, then I think what we really need to do is open to the rest of the world by opening to ourselves. And let that be the process that brings us into a state of humility, but with confidence, with kindness to ourselves that we can now share with other people. And if we're afraid of what's inside of there, I think we'll share that fear when we see another. So this process is equally balanced. What we heal on the inside, we can begin to heal on the outside. So let us contemplate over the next few months. Really give it some thought. Now, there is one caveat here. If you're so down on yourself that you can't find anything about yourself you love consciously now, it's probably risky to go find out what else is in there. So in that case, spend this few months loving yourself, saying affirmations that build your self-esteem, bringing your heart back into a sense of balance in the conscious way so that you're ready to take on the unconscious material. Years ago, I did a workshop with a guy named Brew Joy, and one of the things he taught us to do there was to meditate on the heart and to begin to bless the body by sending energy from the heart to all of it. And while that was in itself quite healing, his intent for doing that was we were doing dream work and shadow work. And he wanted the heart to be able to hold the complexity of your life, not be judgmental, but to make space for all of you. So if you are having a hard time doing this work, I suggest that you spend more time meditating on the heart so that you begin to develop that muscle of love and acceptance, which is the critical ingredient to allowing this new material, which has been repressed, to come into your psyche without damage. So if you're having a hard time loving yourself, put this off, spend time here until this is strong. And when this is strong, then begin the process of opening up the treasure chest that is the shadow side of you. Let us pray. As we begin to feel into our own being just by closing our eyes, if we really look, we see it as a vast, vast place. And that space holds many treasures. Some we know about, some we don't. Let us lean into our hearts now and imagine this heart is expanding. That like a light, it is getting brighter. And if it were heat, it were getting hotter. If it were pressure, it were building. And if we need a phrase that we keep and say to ourselves, perhaps it should be, I am love made manifest. Or some people like the phrase, God made no mistakes. I am loved and lovable as myself. Find a phrase that works. Find some space for your own heart. Let that heart send energy to the rest of your being. So that you prepare the ground for wholeness, inclusion, and self-acceptance. This is our charge, to become fully ourselves and to know ourselves as whole and complete. And so it is. Amen.
We know love can build a bridge.
We're still expecting to have the system fully operational by September. I'm holding that expectancy. And today we have raised $41,000 toward our goal of $120,000. We're a little over a third of the way there. So thank you to everyone who has already contributed to the project. We appreciate your generosity. We're going to continue the campaign through the summer with the goal of having all donations collected by the autumn equinox, which is on September 21st. So that means what, another party perhaps? And for those of you who missed the summer solstice, it was fantastic. We had close to 50 people, over 50 people. We had wonderful music. We had wonderful treats inside. And when they say heavy hors d'oeuvres, we mean it. With your continued support, we will achieve our goal. However, to make the journey just a bit more interesting, we're excited to announce an addition to the campaign. Today, I'm announcing the solar raffle, because who doesn't love a good raffle? Anyone who contributes to the campaign will be entered into a drawing for some amazing prizes. There will be 2 separate raffles for anyone who contributes to our campaign. Donors who contribute up to $1,000 will be entered into a drawing for one of 30 solar-powered cell phone chargers. And donors who contribute over $1,000 will be entered into a special drawing for one of 25 seats at a special evening with Neusom, hosted at the home of our very own Neusom Holmes. Now, I know some of you might think, is that really a prize? It is. It is. Trust me when I tell you. And if he cooks, it's even better. Neusom promises to regale his guests with tales and lessons from life on the water, and I'm sure there'll be many of those stories. If you've already given, don't worry, you are automatically entered into the raffle. And if you haven't given, please consider making your gift this summer. You can donate at the kiosk in the lobby, online at the Unity website, or by check, sent in the mail, and of course, we always take cash. The drawing will be held in September, and I will keep you posted throughout the summer. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Daniel McLeod, in case we have not met, and I just have a few announcements for you today. The Rainbow Bridge that was scheduled for after the service today has been postponed to a later date, so just keep your eye out for that one. Some excitement coming up for next weekend. On July 3rd, after the Sunday service, we'll be celebrating July 4th holiday with a special sweet and savory treat in the fellowship hall. We'll be serving ice cream with toppings and something savory, so we look forward to celebrating that with you. And then lastly on the announcements, of course, Josette mentioned the summer solstice service from this past week. And part of that, there was a collection taken up of about $500, and with it being Pride Month in June, that was donated to the LGBTQ Center. So we want to give a heartfelt thank you for those of you that made that possible. So at this time, will the greeters please come forward to bless our gifts? And as they come forward, I'm just going to share a recent experience with you. A few months ago, my family needed to travel out of state for my brother's funeral, and the morning before the funeral services, we decided to go to one of our favorite restaurants. And as it just so happened to turn out, the restaurant was really busy. They had their hands full, and while we had received part of our order, the waitress came out and said, "Listen, I'm so sorry. It looks like you all are probably going to the funeral, so it was a big deal. Just go. We're not going to have your food in time, so if you just want to go ahead, I'll take care of everything for you. Just go." And I was really touched by that. I thought that was incredibly generous and thoughtful of her. And so we go through the day, and the day is what the day is. And that evening, we're out at a restaurant eating dinner, and as we're getting ready to pay, my wife and I just have it on our hearts to pay for the table next to us. We didn't pay for breakfast, so let's pay for that table as well, which was great. And we didn't say anything. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We just go about our business. Then the next morning, we were getting ready to leave town. We stopped to get breakfast again, and it was very interesting to me. Someone picked up our ticket. It's like, and so it reminded me of the power of giving. And while not all gifts have this immediate this immediate response, but in time, I've never given a gift that I felt bad about giving. So with that all being said, this is probably just a good reminder for us. You never know what's behind that gift, whose hearts it's going to touch, what it's going to do for someone else. And if this spiritual community is as important to you as it is to me, certainly you understand the importance of that. So we make donating easy here. We have several ways to donate, either in person or online, or at our website, unitytriangle.org. So with that being said, let's bless our gifts with the affirmation on the screen. So together, divine love has me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
The prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.